More than 4 billion people live across Asia. And we are telling their stories. In this edition, the lengths Koreans adopted overseas go to in order to learn about their origins, with some even ending up in court.
This day is momentous for all of us adoptees, just to have a right, finally, to voice the struggles that we face with not having any rights whatsoever to be able to contact our family.
And why they resort to drastic measures.
I can't do that because of privacy laws, and it's all up to her whether she changes her mind. So that was quite a blow.
Watch how one police officer goes the extra mile for the residents he serves.
你以后家里人手不够，那个子女当时在外面或者你着急的时候，你就打墙上我那个电话。
In the summer of 2020, an unprecedented paternity suit captured the attention of global media. American Kara Bos, a Korean adoptee, successfully sued to be recognized as her biological father's daughter in Seoul Family Court.
That was never my intention, though. My whole intention was just to be able to talk to him to find my mother. So this is kind of just a formality that happened as a result.
Bos uploaded her DNA results to an online genealogy platform and found a match, a nephew. It led her to her father, but she was blocked by relatives who refused to accept her claim. Desperate, she sued and won. But one of the points Bos is trying to get across is that her birth search should have never come to a lawsuit.
I hope that no one else has to go through what I did to be able to come behind these details of knowing just a fundamental right of who my parents are and who my family is. And so I hope that this can change for the future for every adoptee, and that the Korean government will be an example to the world on how adoptees should have the right to know their identity, how we should have the right to be able to access our family members without anybody standing in our way.
Many adoptees have long accused adoption agencies of withholding information, leveraging civil privacy laws that prioritize families over what adoptees say is their right to know. Bos hopes her lawsuit and a petition she launched on the South Korean Presidential Office website will inspire the laws to be changed.
Currently, by law, the adoption agencies do have to give the information once it's officially requested, but due to the current civil laws that protect the Korean nationals and their identity, a lot of the information is redacted.
Dave is part of G.O.A.L, an NGO that has been advocating for adoptee rights since 1998. To him, the ultimate hurdle is not the amount of information available, but the fact that birth parents have the right to remain silent. He says it comes down to rights to privacy and rights to knowledge of origin. And for that, he says, there's no easy answer.
If they suddenly receive information that could question the past, the mother's past, it could jeopardize their current relationship or their family, their livelihood. And if they are basically the housewife, they're not making any money. And then if they get divorced, it's not like divorces are an equal opportunity type of thing or equally balanced. It really favors the male. And we're literally looking at basically if they get divorced, they could be out on the streets with no support.
It's up to a family to respond to a certified letter from an adoption agency that an adoptee is searching. Most letters go unanswered, and the adoptee never has a way of knowing if their family even knew there was a search. The odds are against them, but it has not stopped many Koreans adopted overseas from taking things into their own hands. I'm heading down to Daegu with Antonia Giordano to pick up on her search for her birth mother. a search she began in 2009.
All right, I got a coffee in the car. Let's go.
All right, sounds good. I was born in Daegu, South Korea when July 21st, 1982. I was adopted to the U.S. when I was 3 months old. Yes, I came here, obviously to search for my family, but I also kind of came to see if I could make a life out here as well. Regardless if I found something or if I found everything or I found nothing.
A long search is not uncommon and much harder when you live overseas. It's part of the reason Antonia migrated here in 2017.
Quite honestly, I'm not quite sure what the end goal will be or what that looks like. I used to think, when I was younger, I used to think it was, finding that information and possibly meeting my birth family or my birth mother, but I know from just being with friends or just being sort of connected to that community that then sometimes that even poses more questions.
Adoption records are often incomplete or sometimes missing entirely. Antonia's records do list the names of a mother and grandmother, but no contact information or identifying information such as a full birth date. Her mother's name is very common in South Korea. There's also an address for her grandmother, but the building is no longer there. So it's up to Antonia to do her own sleuthing.
So I know you visited Daegu before. What are you hoping to get out of this trip this time?
Obviously, the best situation would be to obviously find any more information or more details than I already have, but I know that might be a bit difficult, and just having searched previously, it seems like it just kind of comes slowly, almost like breadcrumbs, really.
Antonia has her work cut out for her. After all, Daegu is one of South Korea's largest cities, with nearly 2.5 million residents. Her records show she was born at a clinic in this neighborhood. She first visited in 2013, but learned little from the head doctor. We return in hopes of finding out more, only to learn the clinic has been closed for years.
Disappointingly, the former clinic's been replaced by a number of things, including a hair salon, apparently an orthopedic clinic as well, but no clinic from when you were born.
Yeah. I knew it was kind of like a shot in the dark. Nonetheless, I was hopeful that maybe there was some kind of shred of evidence or some kind of small sliver of hope. So unfortunately, that's not exactly what happened.
Antonia was, however, able to track down the head doctor who used to run the place to see if he knew anything else or kept records. Dr. Kim Tae-hee agreed to a phone interview. He explained any possible records from her birth are long gone.
10년 동안 폐기해도 생각해서 어디 그걸 참고에 넣어놓고 저 끌고 다니는 바람이가 없애버리지.
그쵸.
이 법정이는 대로만 보관하고 있고 그 이후에는 없어져도 별 문제 삼지는 않기 때문에 안 가지죠. 없애버리지 다 폐기를 하지.
Another dead end. But Antonia seized the opportunity to at least ask about life back then, what it may have been like for her family.
What made it difficult for single moms to raise? Was it just like economic, just the general economics of the country back then, or just lack of government, cultural?
그 당시에 우리나라는 살기가 힘들어가지고 그 아기를 잘 못 키울 수 있는 형편이 된 어머니들이 상당히 많이 있었고 대개는 미혼모들이 많아요. 미혼모. 그러니까 결혼 안 있는 아가씨가 그 연애해가지고 여기 임신했을 때 누우면 자기가 못 키우니까 몰래 와서 그냥 병원에서 놓고 그리고 이거는 200씩이 달라 나는 못 키운다 이런 수가 있고.
The first recorded international adoptions from South Korea began after the Korean War ended in 1953. War orphans and children born of foreign soldiers and Korean women were some of the first to be sent abroad. Antonia was among more than 65,000 babies adopted in the 1980s, many taken into homes in the U.S. and Western Europe.
It was pretty typical to be, like American kid, studied, played sports, did dance classes, but you still could tell a difference, even if it wasn't like very in your face or very confrontational. For the most part, I tried to ignore it, but it did leave some questions lurking in the back of your mind.
Today, several hundred Korean babies are still adopted overseas every year. Record keeping has improved with new laws, but that doesn't help older adoptees like Antonia who have incomplete case files. We ask adoption agencies to explain how an information request works, but they decline to be interviewed. For adoptees with limited information, local police can assist in a search. Antonia first approached police with her mother's name in 2018, and months later, there was a breakthrough.
And, they give me a phone call and they're like, yeah, we have your mom here. I was both so happy, but then he told me that while she's very sad that, about everything, that she didn't really want to talk to me. But at the time, he had asked me to send her a Kakao message, and then he would deliver it. So I sent it, but then I didn't really hear anything.
Antonia wanted to follow up, but lost the police officer's information when she moved to Taiwan for a year in 2019.
Antonia lost contact for 2 years, wasn't able to follow up with the police officer by phone, so we're seeing if they can help us start again, reach out and make that contact again.
2년 전에 연락했을 때 이제는
Right now, the local police are Antonia's biggest hope. And by chance, the officer who handled her case was on duty and ready to talk.
Except for the one officer that she talked to, I haven't known anybody else that has even been able to make contact with her at all. So.
Which will be this officer, so
yeah.
It'll be interesting to hear what he had to say from that day that he was in contact with her.
Yeah, definitely.
We met Officer Park at police headquarters. He didn't have permission to give us an on-camera interview, but he cleared up some questions Antonia had, including how he found her mother. Officer Park explains that he was able to locate women with the same name as Antonia's mother. One eventually came down to the station, looked at Antonia's adoption file, and identified her as her child. But she did not want to be contacted again. Under privacy laws, Officer Park had to close the case, and till today is not allowed to tell us why she refused contact.
I didn't know that part, and I didn't know that disallowed me from trying to have him recontact her again, and I can't do that because of privacy laws, and it's all up to her whether she changes her mind. So that was quite a blow.
And with that news, Antonia was out of options for her search, at least in Daegu. Antonia followed Kara Bos's story in the news. She submitted her own DNA test as well through a private genealogy company, but unlike Kara, hasn't had a match.
I'm happy that she was able to find the information that she did need. I know that a lot of adoptees go through a lot of different routes, and I think that's what makes it really difficult. It would be a great help to be able to do it through something like a government agency, as opposed to all these different other things, private searches or like lawyers and stuff like that, which some adoptees have the means and the ability to, but others don't, and I don't think that should be fair for them to be limited to their searches, because it can be time consuming and money consuming as well.
The National Center for the Rights of the Child, or NCRC, created in late 2018, is working with adoption agencies to augment existing records. The NCRC is funded by the government, but Dave from G.O.A.L believes an independent third party should be managing these records instead to build trust among adoptees that all the information that exists is available to them.
Would be a great way, I think, in verifying and giving peace of mind to adoptees that, A, the information in your adoption file, this is what they have, and there's no other access to this. There's no other piece of paper that's missing that actually has real information or not. I think it can go a long way to giving adoptees peace of mind that maybe there isn't anything else to be able to be acted upon for a search.
For now, Antonia is out of options, so she's submitting an information request to the NCRC. If there is any new information to be discovered, she hopes they can pull it together for her.
It's pretty straightforward to fill out. It's just my name, the information that I do have, and my address, stuff like that. You know, my ideal dream would be to get as much information as possible, but I've learned too, like any little thing can help, even if it's just like a small little piece, or even if it's just an area or wherever. I'll be happy for that. Really aware of how the birth mother might feel and how she might be, her life might be upended by it too. So it's not all just sunshines and rainbows. No matter how crazy or selfish or unselfish or whatever the feelings were, you know, I think we all want that, you know, that missing side, that question mark to be, at least to be less of a question mark. So, because it does leave you with a lot of, it does leave you in this weird sort of place where you feel always sort of like an outsider and not quite like you're in any one place or you fit in any one group or anything.
Up next, how one police officer serves his community.
改天我带医生到你家里来，再给你测测血糖，哎，听听心脏，哎，给你检查身体，好吧？我觉得社区民警是一个很普通的角色。作为我们警察，我们不可能每天的工作内容都是那种英雄的那种形象，更多的时候，我们是做的一种很平凡的一些事情，跟老百姓的生活是融在一起的，说白就像自己家的事情一样。我帮他提供我能做的事情，解决他们的一些实实在在的困难，来保护他们的一些合法的权益，保护他们的人身安全、财产安全。同时呢，我也要给他们提供一个安定的、稳定的一个生活环境。我们社区民警就是要给老百姓服务的，你要自己主动的去服务，想到老百姓需要什么，不要等到他开口。你看，你给我称点橘子，再拿一头香蕉，拿头香蕉，好。我是这边的社区民警，哎，买点水果给你看一看。现在天天晚上睡觉还好，睡觉还好。你以后家里人手不够，那个子女当时在外面或者你着急的时候，你就打墙上我那个电话。我能赶过来，我过来；我过不来，我还有我的同事，我还有我们村干部。改天我带医生到你家里来，再给你测测血糖。哎，听听心脏，哎，给你检查身体，好吧？像去年一样的，我再找。作为一个社区民警，你不是说通过一件事情就能得到一个人对你的信任，而是说你要不停的、一直的、持之以恒的做一些事情，这样的话，老百姓才会对你有一个好的评价，这一个群体才会认可你。他这种感谢可能说很普通，一句话或者一个眼神，一个微笑。但是他那个是很真诚的，很真诚的，所以是这种温暖和这种信任，带给我自己的一种感受，使我内心觉得自己很快乐。社区民警来管理这个社区，我要依法办事。但是依法办事的时候， 你必须还要有自己的方法，要有你的智慧，你才能把你的职责淋漓尽致的来体现出来，完成好你的任务。他所做的每一件事情，对于老百姓来讲，他不认为是一件小事或者大事，这都是他实实在在生活中的需求。他觉得你的工作达到他的这个实际需求，帮助他解决了困难，他对你表示认可了，那你才是合格的。确认一下家里面有人，有人的话就是，叫家里人接一下。如果要家里不方便，到时候我回去我带一下好了。
我就知道时间晚了，我来了找不到，哎呀，一下咋要急死了。
没事没事没事，再见。
谢谢谢谢。
没事没事，再见。小朋友再见啊。因为我穿的这身制服，就是我这个衣服要穿一辈子，那我就必须要自己强大起来。老百姓反馈给我的，他那种最真的东西。可以说我生命里感觉最真的东西，他信任我，他感谢我，而且在一个他遇到困难的时候，有的时候对你那种寻求帮助那种真诚的渴望，面对这个，你不能无动于衷。我觉得英雄可能就那种惊天动地的事迹，我可能没有，但是我觉得我是老百姓可以信任的那么一个人。
Follow us on social media to contribute story ideas and share your thoughts.